So where I first remember knowing you from, I was coaching at Muskogee on the girls staff from 2011 to 16.
Oh, okay.
And so during the 2013 season, when y'all got to the state finals, when you were at Bixby, you played against Booker T. I remember that particular team and that particular run. And mainly I was hot because I felt like we should have made it there, but we fell short.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to you. And you got on my radar, so to speak, like I matter. But I want you to take me from the beginning. From the beginning, when you were a kid, growing up in Claremore, right? That's home?
Well, that's where I graduated from.
That's where you
but
graduated
that's
from?
not where I grew up.
Okay, please take me from the beginning.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I was actually originally born in Bartlesville. We lived there for a couple of years, and then my dad had gotten out of coaching, got back into coaching, took a job at Tupelo, Oklahoma.
That I do remember reading.
And a little small school, Class B school, and so I spent, from about 2 years old to 6th grade in Tupelo. Small school environment, walk from home to the school, and then after school go in the gym with dad and while practice is going on. And so yeah, I grew up, most of my years were there. We left there. My dad took a job at Meeker, which is like a Class 3A school, kind of outside of the city, Shawnee area. And we were there until I was a sophomore. And then after my sophomore year, he took the job at Claremore. And that's how I ended up graduating from Claremore. But
a little bit of a journeywoman in the beginning, huh?
It was. There are 4 of us kids. I have an older sister, I have an older brother, and a younger sister. And so I like to say I am the middle child because the oldest was a girl, so she's the firstborn. And then my brother's the only boy, and then of course my little sister gets to be the baby, so I get to be the middle child. But anyway, but it's been good. All of my siblings played sports. We all played for my dad. So that was a little bit of a thing in our house and interesting, but also a good experience. Probably the number one reason why I decided to become a coach. Did
you know you wanted to coach early? Did you find that early, or did it come to you after the fact?
I always kind of felt like I wanted to coach, but as I got into high school and going into college, I was like, no, I'm not going to coach. I won't do that. I'm going to, be a biology major. I don't know why I thought I would be a biology major.
I mean, it sounds good.
I didn't even know what I would do with it, but I liked science at the time, and I thought, okay, maybe that's what I'll do. And so I went to sign up for my classes, and none of the labs worked with my practice schedule in college.
That matters.
So I was like, well, guess I won't be a biology major. What works with me? What works with my schedule? And so I just kind of came full circle back to teaching and coaching, and I always kind of had a passion for that, just having lived in the house that I lived in with my dad and watching him.
It was in you, not on you.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Now, on those 2 moves, because I guess I say luckily, but as a kid, my world was my world. I never moved around, so I'm always sort of like fascinated with folks who have a story similar to yours. But were any of those 2 moves difficult for you?
I would say the very first move was the most difficult for me.
Okay. I thought it'd be the last one.
Yeah. Well, when you're a teenager or getting into your teen years, I was 11. I thought I was a teenager.
Yeah, preteen.
Full on,
Very awkward age, by the way.
But I had a lot of really, really good friends that I had made at that school. And, at that age, you don't understand. My dad had looked at other jobs prior to that year, but that year was my brother's freshman year. And he coached my brother at Tupelo. They played in the all the way to the end. They played in the longest to date. I think it's still the longest state championship game ever to be played. They went into 4 overtimes, won it. My brother was the MVP of that state tournament. They went 32-0 that year. That same state tournament that my brother became the MVP in featured Big Country, D. Bryant Reeves, and Ryan and Damon Minor, who both played at OU, played baseball at OU, and then went on to a little bit of a stint in the Major League Baseball. So
that's major.
Yeah, so it was a pretty cool deal. But I think that, in coaching, you stay anywhere for an extended period of time. It's kind of one of those deals, like, you're going to either go all in or maybe the next move is there for you. And So the job at Meeker came open. My dad was looking around for some stuff, and so he took that job, took that boys' job there. He was coaching girls and boys at Tupelo, but took that job, and that was actually probably, I mean, the most pivotal years for me, because 2 years of junior high and then 2 years in your high school career, and so friendships and all of that were really, really stable. And I moved literally about 2 hours away, or just a little less than that. And so, you know, it wasn't like I couldn't stay in touch with my friends, and I had my license and that kind of thing. And so it wasn't as big of a deal when we made the move from Meeker to Claremore, but I also knew that the move from Meeker to Claremore was kind of my dad's opportunity to coach me. He was just the assistant coach, girls coach at Meeker. He was the boys coach there and kind of turned that program around. They had won one game the year prior to him coming there. The next year they were in the area finals, one game away from the state tournament, and they would have never thought that that would have happened. But, you know, he had 4 years there, turned that program around. And then his dream job came open at Claremore. My mom and dad graduated from Nowata, so moving back to this area was great for him. Claremore always intrigued him. There was something about the town, the feel, everything about it, the right size of town and feel. So anyway, that came open, and it was an opportunity for him to be able to coach me. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I would like that.
So you answered my next question, because, see, I've seen some parents coach theirs, and given grace, I think the line between too much and not enough is so fine.
Oh, yes, it is. It's a line that I dance every day with my own kids.
Yeah. So was it just exciting? It was as exciting for you to play for your dad as it was for him to coach you?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, you know, my dad's passed on now, but, you know, I think the cool thing about our relationship, and all of us kids that played for my dad, and my brother played baseball and basketball for him. I played softball and basketball for him. My older sister just basketball, my younger sister softball and basketball. And so, you know, the one thing that my dad never did was, a lot of coaches that coach their kid compartmentalize it, like, here I'm your dad and here I'm your coach. And he was like, I'm always your dad.
Straight up.
I'm always your dad. I will always, you know, hold you to the standard of, you are my kid. This is what I expect out of you, and that will be no different. The funny thing about my dad is he oddly treated other kids the same way, like they were his kid. Like he just felt like kids that were underneath him were like his own children. And if you talk to anybody that played for him, I would say probably 95% of them felt that way. Like, oh, he was just like a dad to me, you know. But he felt that way, and he never compartmentalized that. And so because of that, I never felt, and he never put the pressure on any of us to perform. You know, we never felt like his love was attached to our performance. You know, I have a friend now, but she played for my dad, and she talks often about, you know, when she moved over from Inola to play at Claremore, she got in trouble or something. She wasn't doing something right in the game, and he, you know, was all over her in the game. And then after the game, you know, he was like, we're good friends with their family. He was like, hey, where do you guys want to go eat?
Yeah.
And she said, I'm not eating with him.
Yeah. Kids is
like,
a little different.
I am not eating with this guy. Why? He just yelled at me. Why would I go eat with him? You know? But my dad never felt like it was personal. Like, anybody that's near the basketball court wants his opinion, wants to be coached up. And he always felt that way. And so, you know, most people, once they got to know that about him, they respected that, you know, it's not personal for him. He loves you. He cares about you. And so that's the way my dad was. It was never after the game, we're going to all go home mad. And, you know, now we did watch a lot of film.
Really?
A lot of film. I probably watched
Killing your brain cells.
Oh, I watched more film than any of my siblings. But most of the time, my film watching was to go back and tell him, to prove to him that my side of the story was right.
I was right. You see this
that
right
pass I should have made was right, Dad. See, you know, so I might have been a little ill-motivated in my watching of film. So
That's how you knew it was in the future for you.
yeah, it's probably true.
Now, between you and your siblings, were y'all close? Or are y'all still close?
Yes,
Love
very
that.
close.
Are they all at in the house together at the same time?
Oh, yes. So there was 6 years between my older sister and myself, and then my brother's about 3 years in between us. And then my younger sister's 6 years younger than me. So we were all in the house for a time frame there for about 5 or 6 years. But our families are so close. My oldest sister does live in Arkansas now, but it's just over in Rogers, and they come over quite a bit. But my brother and my younger sister and my mom, we all live within about 3 miles of each other in Claremore.
I love that. I love that. Always got along?
Always got along. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that there weren't some battles.
Par for the course.
But I think that's where being the middle child has suited me well, because I'm kind of the person that just tells it like it is, and I'm like, you're being ridiculous. You need to listen to her, and
Right.
you know, and that's kind of the role I think I played in my household growing up. And so now in our older years, when there's any tension, I'm like, come on, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Unofficial mediator.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, in the midst of all of that organized chaos that you just described, what was Mom's role?
Oh, goodness. My mom was all things.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. She worked at the school. She, at every place that my dad, at every stop that he made, she worked at the school.
Okay.
As like a secretary, or she worked in like the accounting department or different jobs like that. But she always worked at the school. And she kept stats for my dad at every game. Every game. He used to give me a hard time about it. The only time she missed one of his games, keeping stats for one of his games, is when she was at one of my college games. So he said,
Fair.
you're the only thing that could take her off my bench. And so, but no, she was awesome. She was the rock of our family. You know, just I was very fortunate to grow up in a very faith-filled home. My mom was like the most faithful, spiritual person you could possibly imagine. Always had a very good positive outlook on things, and you know, always leaned on our faith. And that's the one thing that I always remember about my mom that was really cool. You know, no matter what was going on in the chaos, like you were talking about,
Right.
you know, she was like, guys, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So yeah, just a rock.
I love that. It reminds me of my mother.
Yeah.
Just can't rattle her.
Exactly.
So I guess that answers my last question that I got related to your parents. When it came down to discipline, who would you say was the good cop most times, and who was the bad cop most times? How'd they work
Well,
that?
I will tell you this, for whatever reason, and I can't pinpoint what it is, you know, there was like always this little bit of a tension with my mom and I as I got into my teen years. And I think it was Melody just being a little bit rebellious. And I look back now and I tell my own kids this, you know, it just breaks my heart to think about the way that I spoke to my mom at times. And, you know, my dad would just light me up.
Right on,
You know
right
what
on.
I mean?
Yeah.
But, because you just didn't do that
You
to
can't
his
do that.
wife. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Mom and I are probably as close as we've ever been today. And it's never not been a loving relationship. But I would say that my dad has always kind of been the one that, you know, like, don't cross that bridge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's not what
My
happened.
mom always, hey, she wasn't afraid to spank you. Good night. I got my last spanking when I was 16. I'll never forget this.
Yeah, you feel a little over the hill at that point.
Never forget this. My mom said to me, "You think you're too big to spank? You are not getting."
Yeah.
She's whipped me, and I
Got nasty.
kind of tried not to snicker, and that was the last time I got
Yeah, that was it.
spanking.
That was it. It's crazy when they learn that lesson. Like, yeah, it's not working anymore.
not.
But on the real, I always feared my dad's wrath more than my mom. But I don't remember him whooping me. It was always her.
Yeah.
If I got out of line, and those hands were quick. Let's just say that there. You know. Okay, now with you, sports-wise, specializing in two sports, right? Softball and basketball. Which one did you find first? Did you start playing first? Right?
Basketball.
No doubt.
basketball. When I was little in Tupelo, it was such a small school they didn't have softball. I played baseball.
There you go.
So I played baseball for the longest time, and then when about 5th grade, my dad took a job, like, we always did construction in the summer, just, you know, teaching, coaching.
Yeah.
Not always going to pay all the bills, you know.
I understand that.
And so my
Both
dad
in
would
and
always
out.
do construction in the summer. Us kids never had to get a job. We were never asked to get a job. Our job was to work with my dad in the summer. Our job was to go in the gym and get shots up, or, you know, go to the cage and get some cuts in or something like that. But we were always doing something construction-wise. My brother to this day still builds houses and has a business doing that.
Man's
and,
man.
Yeah. So anyway, but no, I feel like. What was your question again?
No, which one you found first, softball or basketball?
Basketball. Yes, sorry about that. Yeah,
That's all good.
basketball. I definitely found basketball first. my dad poured a slab out behind the house that we lived in, and literally this town was so small. Like I said, everybody could walk to school. That was the hangout. Like, there was no park in this town. Our backyard was the hangout.
That was the hub.
There was any night you would have 15, 20 boys mostly. Some girls would come over and we would play. And of course I was, much smaller than my brother and all of his friends, and I would always get bumped off the court. Nah, you're too little, get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what motivated me was one of these days you're going to want me on your team.
That's it. And you kept coming back for more, huh?
Yeah.
Were you better at basketball than softball, always, or baseball? Always?
Yes. I was always better. Yeah, I was always better at basketball. I just think I had and my dad would say this, and I mean, I'm not going to deny that there was something that clicked for me in my brain in the way that basketball worked. I mean, from a very early age, I understood things. I was making passes and doing things that my dad would be like, how'd you see that? You know?
IQ just high.
Yeah, something just clicked for it. But.
Your high school career, take me through it. And I'm fond of that because I don't know what the age difference is between you and I, but I graduated high school in 2007, right?
Okay.
But from the years of 03 when I got to high school all the way to 07, those are still my fondest memories, even over my college experience. So what was yours like?
Well, my high school career was a lot of fun. In fact, I just was back. The guy that was my first high school coach at Meeker just passed away, Mickey Thorpe, and so I was back there for his funeral and reminisced with some friends and all of the things, teammates. And honestly, it was such a cool time for me. My freshman and sophomore year, we were not really great. My freshman year, it was odd because I would start as our starting post player on our freshman team, and then that'd be on Monday and Thursday, and on Tuesday and Friday I would start as the point guard on our high school team. And so, it was just one of those things that was kind of weird. But my sophomore year, we weren't even. I'm trying to remember. I think we were like 15-13 was what our record was my sophomore year.
Okay.
And
like middle of the pack.
Yeah, and my dad was like our assistant, and he had told Coach Thorpe. He said, "Do you guys really want to have a chance?" He said, "I think we could have a chance at making it to the state tournament." He said, "But we're going to have to play a certain way." And Coach Thorpe was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Well, I think we're going to have to pull it out against these big guys." And so we were getting ready to play a team that was the #1 team in the state. We actually had like a little Cinderella run and ended up in the state tournament. First round of the state tournament, we were pitted against the #1 team in the state. They were undefeated. They'd already beat us twice that year by 30+ points because they were in our conference. And they were all about 6'1", 6'2", and he said, we're gonna have to make them come out and guard us. We can't let them set back in the lane and us just shoot over the top of them. We're gonna have to make them come guard us, and it's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to hold the ball a little bit. And Coach Thorpe was like, "You think we could do it?" He's like, "I think we could." Well, the tricky part of this is that year was the last year for the state of Oklahoma to have 6-on-6 basketball. And we were still playing 6-on-6 at that time. And so we would literally get the ball and hold it out here at half court. And these 6'1" girls, were going to have to come out. The minute that they came out to pick me up, just went by, shot a layup. So we were up 2-0, go down, get a stop, bring the ball back down, holding it. It was brutal for everyone in the gym. I know it was brutal.
Y'all did that from start to finish?
From the start.
Oh, that's tough.
And we beat them. We beat them. We turned around the next game, played straight up the regular way.
Yeah.
Played the team that we were playing, beat them, made it to the finals, played against Stigler, who was an absolute powerhouse in basketball at that time. And they absolutely slaughtered us. So the run was over. It was amazing, and we'll never forget those memories. And then, we go to Claremore from Meeker, and the whole time, I'm playing AAU basketball. So the whole time, I'm playing 5-on-5.
Right.
But the state is still playing 6-on-6 for most schools. When we got to Claremore, they had already transitioned to 5-on-5, I think, maybe 2 years prior. And we went there. And Coach Dameron, who was my dad's assistant at the time, his assistant the whole time he was at Claremore, she said, you were the missing piece. Like we just needed a point guard, a solid point guard. We had a good post player, had a good rebounder, had a good shooter, had good filler kids. We just needed a point guard. And so we came in my junior year, we ended up making it to the state finals, got beat by Carl Albert, by a very, very tall girl, Paige Sauer, who played at UConn. And so anyway, we got beat pretty bad. So my 2 experiences there as a high school player, we got slaughtered. But we turned around, went to the state tournament that next year, and didn't end up winning it, but did get there after we had lost several players, and a lot of people just had written us off. But we did end up going. We actually won the state tournament in softball my junior year. So that was a pretty cool experience. Went back my senior year, fell a little short, but the playing experience was awesome. It was amazing. I ran track when I was at Claremore. That was something that was a little new for me. But
both years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Never downtime.
I almost didn't do it my senior year, and our assistant coach was one of the track coaches. She's like, Melody, you got to get in shape anyway to go to college, so you might as well come on out.
That's fair.
And I'm like, I've got to get these workouts in, and she was like, you come run your workout, leave when you need to, go get your other workout. I was like, okay, well I can maybe do that.
As long as it didn't compromise this right here.
Yeah.
You said something in the midst of all of that, and I can't forget it. So, with you playing such an intricate piece when you were at Meeker, right, playing as a starting PG with the varsity, they allowed you to play freshman ball still, huh?
Yeah.
I think that's so great, and my philosophy behind that is like, okay, at one level you learn how to lead, and the other one you learn how to let somebody else take the lead, and just playing as much as you can, 4 out of 5 days. Oh, that's a kid's dream. Yeah. And so I'm glad they didn't stop you from that. Were you playing JV as well, or was there such a thing?
No, I didn't play JV. I will tell you this. At every stop that I've made, we've done that with our kids, like freshmen. At least for the first 2 or 3 games, we have said, hey, whether you start for us or not, we want you playing with the freshman team.
Right. Just
because we feel like those live reps at the next level are so crucial for kids, just kind of getting the kinks worked out. And, I think it's served us well. This year, I don't know that we'll have enough kids to play a freshman schedule. Our numbers are a little smaller this year.
That's real.
The talent's good. The numbers are just small. So,
Quality over quantity, as they say.
Yeah.
All right, so when you graduate from high school, tell me about the college chapter. And how soon did you know where you were going?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't. Let's say this: the climate of basketball then for girls, completely different than it is today.
It's prevalent now.
Completely different. People just don't even understand.
And we're not even that old.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. And so, it was my junior year. Sorry, my junior year. I had gotten some letters, from multiple colleges throughout my freshman and sophomore year, but it was nothing like anything major. They just put your name down. It's on a mailer. They've watched you at a tournament or something. But, no calls, no nothing like that. Nothing that big, and I don't even know if it was legal back then for them to call like you can do now. But
were you excited when you were getting those letters, though?
Yeah, okay. It was really cool. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And so, then my junior year, we had moved to Claremore, like I said, and we played Miami, Oklahoma, and a girl from Miami had already committed to Missouri State. Well, at the time, that's how you know you're old. When your college changes names, you've kind of gotten over the hump a little.
What was that, Southwest Missouri State?
It was Southwest Missouri State at the time, but Missouri State now. The Mizzou people, just the politics behind not getting us changed to Missouri State was all they could do, but it eventually happened anyway.
That's right.
But she had already committed there, and they were on a courtesy watch watching her when they saw me. And after the game, they went to my dad, who was the coach, and said, hey, tell me about this kid. We've never heard of her before. Where's she been at? And he's like, well, it's actually my daughter. And she was like, oh, even better, So
I bet he was proud as ever.
Yeah, he was. And so the 3 schools that I had narrowed it down to that I ended up going on official visits for, I went to Missouri State, I went to New Mexico, and I went to OU. And I would have been Sherry Cole's first actual recruiting class.
See?
Yeah, she was there that year, was her first year, but I would have been the first recruiting group that she would have brought in. And oh my gosh, one of the hardest things I had to do was call and tell her no. But I mean, she just is, I mean, I still to this day respect her so much and have had multiple conversations with her around basketball and that kind of stuff, but great in mind for the game. But after the game, they had handed my dad this media guide. Coach Rapier had handed my dad this media guide and said, hey, you know, we want you to check this out. And so he asked me, and I was like, Dad, Southwest Missouri State, I'm going to a Division I school. I'm just telling you.
Right on.
You know what I mean? Like I had already, from such a young age, I had already made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do.
What are we wasting time for, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it is a Division I school. I go, what? I've never even heard of this place, you know? And he was like, I think you really need to look at this. They led the nation in attendance for like multiple years, and they're still in the top 5 in attendance today. And I was like, what are they getting, like 500 people, 1,000 people? Like I had no idea. I'm like, it's not that many. You know, I just didn't believe. They averaged 8,000 fans a game at that time. So in the midst of all of this, I open this, you know, media guide, and I'm like, yeah, that's a men's game. And so I'm like looking a little closer at the picture that they had put. Oh, it's actually a women's game. Oh, okay. So then I went there for a game, and after I went,
atmosphere was.
It was crazy. I was like, what is this place that loves women's basketball the way they do? It's something about that area in Missouri, though, that still to this day, even through the ups and downs of that program and other, you know, women's programs around there, they just come out and watch girls basketball. It's amazing. It's crazy.
See?
Yeah.
When you were going on these visits, though, of course, you had your dad right there who's in the business, so I'm pretty sure he could be your eyes and ears if he needed to. But it sounds like, you know, I'm listening to you chronicle your whole journey. It sounds like you've always had a mind of your own. So did you have, basically, for lack of a better word, a checklist, things that you were looking for when you were going on these visits, or was it all just about a feeling?
I don't think I was mature enough to know that.
Yeah.
I really don't. And my dad had not had that experience of, he played 1 year at Coffeyville Junior College.
Right on.
And then went to the Air Force for a couple of years. Then my grandpa got really bad, and his other brothers were already in the military, and so they honorably discharged him to come home with my grandpa while he was ill and all of the things. But nevertheless, so he didn't really have, like, there was no one around me to kind of advise me on what I should be looking for. I didn't know of anybody really personally that had gone and played college basketball. And so for me, it was just really going and checking out and thinking, okay, who do I want to spend the most time with? That's what my dad just kept telling me. You're going to be with these people all the time. Make sure you want to spend time with these people, you know? And I thought, okay.
That's so basic, but that's key, though.
It's so true even today. But I tell kids today, and that's probably why I tell kids this. What drew me in was the experience that I thought I was going to get. You know what I mean? I went to this game. There were all these people. They loved women's basketball. They played a style of basketball that was up in your face and pressing and run and jump and defense. And they were very much a defensively minded team. And I loved playing defense. And so all of those types of things checked my list of things. Missouri State or Southwest Missouri State at the time was the only Division I school out of the state of Missouri, that men or women's, that had ever gone to a Final Four in '91, and that's kind of where they built their biggest fan base, and people are still hanging on into '97 when I come around. And so anyway,
rich
all
history by
that's to
accident.
say,
You didn't even know.
Yeah. All that to say that all of those things kind of were like, oh, so they have the recipe to make this run. I think I'd like to do that. And so all of those things kind of played into my decision to choose Missouri State. But yeah, it was great. And still to this day, it's the only Division I program, men's or women's, that have been to a Final Four. And Coach Burnett is the only coach, men's or women's, Division I out of the state of Missouri that's been to a Final Four. She did it twice.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just at Arkansas this last weekend with my daughter on a visit, and was talking to Coach Neighbors, and he was like, you know, you guys will be the last mid-major that'll ever make it to a Final Four. He said, with revenue sharing coming in, he said, those mid-majors, it's going to be so tough for them to battle that. So on the women's side, he said, you guys may be the last mid-major to ever make it there, because there's not been another mid-major since then.
How you feeling about that?
I mean, I feel a lot of pride, but I would love to see Missouri State get back there again. I think Beth Cunningham does a phenomenal job there, and I think she's building the right kind of thing to make that happen. So
I love it.
I'm excited for them.
Look at you. So you go into college. Talk about the adjustment period. Yeah, was it a big jump? Because you coming in, you're hot as a firecracker.
Yeah,
been a
that's
big
so
time
true.
player, right?
That is so
big
true.
fish in a small pond. But you've always had lofty ambition, it sounds like. So how was it for you?
Well, before I even got there, I had committed, and I'd committed as a point guard, obviously. And Coach Burnett called me, and she said, hey, I've got some news for you. I just want to make you aware. I want to shoot you straight. I want to be up front with you. You know, we told you this story that, you know, you could come here and have the potential to play right away as a point guard for us. You know, you have to earn that time, but you could play. I'm not saying you could start, but you could play right away for us because we need somebody.
I like that.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And she goes, well, I just want you to know that we have just secured the #1 point guard in the nation. She's just committed to us. And I was like, oh, you know, so my class, another point guard.
Yeah.
She was like, I just want to be straight with you. She goes, listen, she's a phenomenal scorer. I mean, she puts up numbers like you wouldn't even believe. They're just outrageous. And everybody from UConn, it's between us and UConn right now. She's either going to go to UConn or she's going to come to us. And she said 2 days ago that's what it was, and she just committed to us. And I wanted to let you know. And I said, oh, she said she's a really good scorer. And she said, yeah, oh my gosh, she can fill it up.
Right.
And I said, oh, well, that's great. I said, because I can't wait to get there and pass the ball to her.
That's right.
Because I'm going to be her point guard.
Yep.
And Coach Burnett, you know, she would talk about how that was such an impactful way to view it as a kid. But I credit that to my mom. My mom was that way. She was like, oh, there's always a silver lining in something. You know, God, just everything you think you could want, don't box God in, because he's got something so much greater than your mind can even fathom. And so
keep learning that even as a grown up.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, so before I even got there, I already knew that the chips were a little stacked against me. I went there my freshman year. Conditioning was wildly outrageous.
Way different from...
there weren't rules like there are today.
Yeah, that's right. They could spend all day with you.
Yeah, well, they could spend all day doing conditioning drills with you. You couldn't do a whole lot with a basketball, but they could do some other stuff with you. And I'll just never forget. It was like such a, like, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? This is crazy. I mean, you're running an outrageous number of 400s out in the middle of the track and it's like, you know, 100 degrees outside, probably about 116 on that track.
That's
and I mean, it was terrible. But anyway, whole football team out there just kind of going, yeah, that sucks to be them.
Yeah.
But anyway, the adjustment was that the game is really, really fast at that level. Very, very fast. And as much as I knew, I mean, the game moves so fast, that was a huge adjustment that I had to, you know, get used to. I played a lot my freshman year.
Nice.
Yes, played a lot my freshman year nonetheless, and we had a really good class come in. We had 6 of us that came in and that year, and everybody kept talking about our class like, this is the class, this is the one, you know. They had kind of fallen off quite a bit and, you know, had started to climb back up. Our class came in and they felt like, man, as they get older, it's really going to turn the tide, and we think we got a chance. And especially when Jackie committed, you know, they felt like, okay, this is it. Then fast forward to my sophomore year. Well, the summer between, let's back up. I had a torn lateral meniscus in my knee, 70% tear in preseason. I went through all of preseason, and a piece of my femur bone chipped off, and I didn't know it.
Rolling into your sophomore year?
Well, in preseason of my freshman year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and I had never had an injury in my entire life. And so I didn't even know really that I was injured. I thought I was just really sore and that I had
Yeah.
tweaked my knee or something.
You
And
were doing more than you ever had,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And my knee was like the size of a basketball. I mean, it's huge. And our trainer was like, what's up with your knee? And I was like, oh, it's fine. I'm good. Like, the one place I did not want to be is in the training room.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's good. It's good. I think I just tweaked it or something. She was like, I think we need to take a look at that. And so she made me come in and they took a look. Then I did an MRI, and sure enough, had some tearing in there. And so they said, you're going to have surgery. So I went in, had surgery. They cleaned it up. It's the craziest thing. At that time, it took about 2 weeks to get back from a meniscus. You could be moving and doing stuff. Now you can get back in like 7 days.
Yeah.
Like these NFL guys, they go get meniscus cleaned up and they're back at
That's
it the
right.
next week. It's crazy.
Technologically, we're on another level now.
Oh man, yeah, for sure.
Were you trusting it right out of the gate, or were you tentative at first?
Just remembering back, I think I was just so like fearless at that time that I just it didn't even occur to me that. Now I will tell you this: I was always really fast and always really quick,
Yeah.
and it did slow me down a little bit. So that I had to really turn up this to anticipate and be better until I kind of got that back. And but nonetheless, I played a lot my freshman year. Decided to come home between my summer, my freshman and sophomore year, and do summer school at Rogers State instead of on campus like everybody else. This is a bad move, just so you know. I came home to Oklahoma where the heat is horrific.
Oh yeah, it's tough now.
And with a book that I'm supposed to do all these workouts, I get up at 7 a.m. It's still like 96 degrees outside. Yeah. I'm like, man, this sucks. I think I'm going to go home for a little while and wait till it cools off. Well, guess what? In Oklahoma, it never cools off.
Never done.
And so
Early
how
or never.
often do you think I got those workouts in?
Maybe a week.
Yeah.
See.
So I did
Holmes.
not do my workouts, and I came back, and I learned what the doghouse was.
Ooh wee.
Oh yeah, she was not happy with me. I think they were expecting, obviously, they were expecting me after having come in and played the minutes that I played in my freshman year. They were expecting me to come in and fill a little bit more of a role, maybe not start, but a little bit more of a role, and I just was out of shape. It didn't take me long to get back in shape, but I knew they were not happy about me being out of shape. And that entire year, and it was the worst year of my entire life, like still to this day. And I'm talking about,
Oh wee.
all
things considered.
I've had some bad things go down in my life.
Yeah.
And
Life
that was the worst year of my life. I thought, why am I doing this? I get up every day. I do all these workouts. I try to work extremely hard, way harder than anybody else, because I want to prove that I screwed up and I shouldn't have done that. And so like I'm constantly trying to prove, blah, blah, blah. I'm in practice. I'm giving everything that I have at the front of every sprint. Like just all the things, and still.
They're like, nah. You're
no.
backlogging right now.
I jokingly say this to my kids and to different people all the time. I didn't even get the courtesy 30 seconds. Hey, we're up 25. There's no way she can turn it over enough for us to lose this game, so let's put her in the game. I didn't even get those some games, and I was like, dang, this sucks. This really does suck. You know what I mean? But fast forward to being a coach, that's probably the year that I learned the most about how to relate to kids and how they feel. And so my story allows me to coach kids better, allows me to help kids get through those moments in their life, the having to sit, the having to watch, the having to give everything that you can, and maybe it's not still enough kind of deal, just some of those things. But I was so upset, and I was ready to transfer. I'll never forget, in the middle of the year, we're preparing for Illinois, who was number 5 in the nation at that time. And it was like Monday. We didn't play till Thursday. I talked to Coach Burnett after practice. I was like, hey, can I talk to you? And she was like, sure. I was like, I was just wanting to talk to you a little bit about, playing and,
Checking
what
your
I could
temperature a little
do, And she looked at me.
Oh, no.
You just have to know her. I mean, she was all business. She looked at me and she goes, you're really talking to me about this right now? Like, we're preparing for the number 5 team in the nation.
Right.
And you're talking to me about your playing time? And I was like, nope, I'm not.
When you put it like that, it's like,
I'm out of here.
You know what? I'll take it out. It's a bad idea. Maybe another time.
So anyway, I went home. I was very upset. Called home. Dad, You're never going to guess what happened. I blah, 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 blah. You know, I tried to talk to her friend about playing, and she said that I couldn't. I can't believe it. I'm ready to click.
Oh, he hung up on you.
Yeah. I was like, wait, you know, back in the day you had
Yeah, that's it.
handheld phones. So we must have got disconnected. Dial the number back.
Sure, something happened.
Pick up the phone, and I was like, I think I lost you there. I said, I was telling you that I tried to talk to Coach Burnett about playing, and, you know,
He
and,
hang up twice, didn't he?
click. I'm like, he just hung up on me. He had hung up on me before. So I call back, because, you know, I told you I was a little bit stubborn.
You gotta keep calling back.
I call back, and I was a daddy's girl, too, just so you know. So I call
get
back, and my mom answers. And I already told you, my mom and I had some years there was some friction. She was like, what did you say to him? And I said, well, I was just trying to explain to him that I had talked to, you know, Coach Burnett about playing, and, you know, I'm just upset, and I'm ready to train. And you can hear my dad in the background, and he said, you tell that girl that until she's there 2 hours before and 2 hours after that practice, don't ever call back to this house.
Right on.
And I was like, okay. So I knew where my dad stood, and my dad had always preached, you know, when you drop your kids off to play for me, they play for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I expect that you as a parent are going to support whatever we're trying to get accomplished over here.
Yeah.
And we're going to do the best that we can. We see your kids all of the time. And like I said, my dad treated kids like his own. So, you know, he just felt that way about it. And he felt that loyalty to a coach. And he wasn't about to get on the phone with me and talk bad about nobody. Plus, he was like, you saw what you did during the summer.
That's right.
I saw what you did during the summer. You know, whose fault is that? You know, kind of deal. And so
I love the fact that he didn't press you when you were at home during the summer.
No, he would
You know
come
what you're
in,
supposed
and
to be
this
doing.
was my dad. He would come in and he would just go, you know, so that's what I would do. I would sit here and not do that work that you're supposed to be getting in. And I was like, yeah, I'm going, Dad, you know. But he was never one of those that was going to drag me somewhere. But anyway, fast forward to the end of that year, I didn't try it anymore. I just, you know, said, I'm going to give everything that I got every day in practice. I'm going to prove to her that that's not who I was. I'm going to show her my true character, that I'm a kid that works. That's who they recruited. That's who I am. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to be the best scout team that I can possibly be. I'm going to make this team the best that I can. And I just bought into that. My mom had also told me, you're going to go back your junior year. You're going to do everything that you said you should have done. And if you still don't see the result that you want, I'll personally come and pack you up and take you to whatever school you want to go to. And I was like, okay. So in my exit interview with Coach Burnett that year, I'll never forget, talking about things. She was like, you know, are you going to stay here for the summer? I absolutely am. She goes, yeah, I guess you learned your lesson, didn't you? You know, kind of one of those things. I'm like, yeah. You know, I learned a lot of things or whatever. I said, but I want to tell you something. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to do this summer. I'm going to do all the workouts. I'm going to do all the shooting. I'm going to do all the things that you've asked us to do, because I'm guaranteeing you are not going to have a reason not to play me next year. And she looked at me and she was like, well, I hope you're right. I was like, I'm going to be, you know.
Profound.
Yeah, so anyway, I say all that to say that I did what I said I was going to do, came back my junior year, started every game my junior and senior year, except for the 4 games that I was out my senior year because I had torn up my shoulder.
Same side, huh?
Yeah, well, and they wanted to do, I had dove on a ball previously, dove for a ball, and somebody else laying it on me. It kind of sublexed.
Yeah.
Then I tried to knock the ball out of a post player's hands that was pulling it up.
Hit it with the strip.
And just, and I just was like this.
Yeesh.
Yeah. And so that was like in December of my senior year, and they were like, well, we can do surgery. And I was like, what's the worst that could happen? They said, well, it could come back out. We'll just put it back in. And I said, okay, forget about surgery. Let's just finish out the season. And so I literally just had it the rest of the season.
Did it ever pop out?
It sublexed twice.
There it is.
But it wasn't anything major. And so we were able, but they wanted me to kind of stabilize it for a few weeks. So I missed 4 games, but had an amazing run. We ended up going to the Final Four that year. That was outrageous. Played Rutgers, at Rutgers, then left there, played Toledo, Rutgers, left there, went to Washington, played Washington, then beat Duke, made it to the Final Four, and got beat by Purdue that year in the Final Four in the first round. Yeah.
One hell of a run,
Oh,
though.
it was fun. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I tell people this all the time. I would go through all of that craziness that I had to go through my freshman year, the craziness I had to go through my sophomore year. I'd do it all over again in a minute. Even if you told me we would get the same outcome, the experience was that good.
Just to go through it again.
Yeah.
So there's one thing that you said that really stood out to me. I think we got to start telling these youngsters all of it, the rest of the story. And what I mean is, hey, yeah, you give everything you got, do all the things that you can, control the things that you control, right? But the back end, a lot of times that gets left off is, and it still might not work out.
Yeah. I
But
said
you
I'm going
gotta
to
be
write a
willing to do
book like that
Yeah.
one day. Someday I'm going to write a book that says, after I've done everything that I can, I've put in everything that I can, I've worked out, I've did all the things, and I still didn't get what I really wanted. Now what? Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that's the story of the gospel. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, I truly believe that, you know, you have to just rely on your faith and rely on there's something so much bigger for you. And kind of like what I told you, you know, my mom used to teach me, whatever your thoughts are, whatever your thoughts and your dreams and your aspirations are for yourself, your Heavenly Father wants something so much greater for you than that. So don't box him in. Don't box him in. And when you don't get exactly what you want, there might be something a little better down the road. And you know, I think I've seen that as I've gone throughout my life. I've seen it, you know, yeah. I mean, have I won every championship that I've ever wanted to win? No, but the relationships that I've built, the experiences that I've had, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And those seem to last a little longer, too.
They certainly do.
Okay, but in that college chapter, I also want to ask you, how tough was it to be as good of a soldier as you had to be in order to stick it out? You know what I mean? Because I would imagine you're a good player, so you got some ego, and we kind of need it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you do. You have to have an ego, a little bit of it. You really do. You know, I was always, my brother was he was a mouthy little sucker.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And we were 3 years
Of
apart,
course he was.
and we battled it out. And
Yeah.
I felt everything came so easy to him. He was so good at every sport he put his hand to, from ping pong to
Didn't have to
pool.
put any
We
work
had
in.
all this in our house, and there was
See.
like a tally board out in our rec room area, and we would play ping pong. And
He's letting you know.
everybody had their marks. And oh my gosh, he was so mouthy, and he would just da. And I just was never going to engage, and I was never going to let him think that he got me. You know what I mean? And so for me, probably having a little bit of that ego and always playing with a chip, because I'm always trying to prove my brother wrong. I'm trying to
Right.
prove him and his buddies and all the things along the way. One of these days you're going to want me on your team, that kind of thing.
Kicking me off the court
But
and all that.
also somebody that's talking trash to you constantly, I think made me tough. I mean, I think it made me who I am today, where you can't say anything that's going to, offend me or get me up in arms or whatever. And so anyway, I do feel like that piece of it, that was tough. Like the mindset was really, really tough. It was hard to get through that sophomore year. I'm not going to tell you that it wasn't. It was very difficult. There were other kids in the program that were my grade. We lost 3 kids after that year. We lost 3 out of our grade that left the program, and 2 that were freshmen that left the program. It was tough. I mean, it was a tough year. Jackie almost transferred from.
That was the prospect.
Yeah, she almost transferred. So it was a tough year for all of us. But I think having gone through that allowed us to do what we did our junior and senior year. And we were actually probably player for player, maybe a little more talented and athletic our junior year than we were our senior year. And we should have been in the Final Four, in my opinion, our junior year.
Yeah.
We got beat by Auburn. Even now, looking back, that was such a pivotal year for me as a coach, just learning how to have empathy for my players, learning how to talk to my players, learning how to help my players understand how to get through those types of situations, but also just mentally becoming a really great coach offensively, manipulating the defense. And Coach Burnett talked about it in the paper, like, man, I know Melody's not playing a whole lot, but she's like an extension of our coaching staff. And she would turn to me in the middle of games and ask me questions
Really?
about what we should do again. And so that piece of it,
Did
And
that shock
maybe-
you at first?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
I love
maybe that piece of it, she recognized, and this might be something that I just have never asked her, but she was like, hey, I've got to keep this kid engaged some way. This is a way that I know that it's an up arrow for her,
Yeah.
something she can do. And maybe she was just doing that just to kind of keep me
Keep your morale
hanging
up.
on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, coaches are smart and they do things. She was brilliant, but so I wouldn't put it past her. But yeah, so I learned a lot. And going through those situations, I think, you know, maybe the person that I am, maybe able to get through, you know, tough things that have happened in my life since. You know, when you can get through things like that, and I tell our kids this all the time. You know, if you can go through some of the workouts and some of the things that we do, and still have a positive mindset, and still accept that this is hard work, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be better at being a mom, better at being a wife. You know, all the things.
Surprising yourself sometimes, like, oh, I didn't know I had that in me. You know what I mean? Okay, so if I don't ask you this is out of chronological order, but we're getting ready to jump into your coaching career for sure. But if I don't ask you, I'm gonna forget. So maybe your coach saw you being a coach at some point down the line. Have you had a player yet that you just sort of can see, yeah, this one is gonna coach one day?
Yeah, actually, I've had 4 girls.
How do you know what that looks like too? Because I can feel it, but I can't explain it.
So for sure, the first one that went into coaching that I coached, she wasn't the best player on the team.
That's usually true.
Yeah, she really wasn't. She wasn't the best player on the team, but she would oftentimes hang around with the younger kids and teach them, like help them, train them, you know, hey, here's what you're supposed to do on that, you know, or they needed help with a play, or they needed help with something. And she would hang back and work with them on her own. So that was the first kid that I was like, she's probably going to be a coach.
Yeah.
And I even told her, I said, someday you might be a coach, huh?
Did she
She's
shoot it
like,
down?
I don't know, coach,
See?
you know. And I was like,
Always.
well, you know, maybe. And sure enough, she turned out to be a really good coach. And since then, I've had 3 others that have coached. One that's gone on to the college level, coached. And then one that is now at Locust Grove. Another one that is at, well, they're both now at Locust Grove. That's funny, yeah.
How about that?
They're both there now. Yeah.
Who gave you your first break into coaching? Your first gig?
Well, I was an assistant coach at Reed Spring High School. My senior year of college, the job at Kickapoo High School came open in Springfield, Missouri. It's like one of the biggest jobs in the state. And they called Coach Burnett and said, hey, we want Melody to come over and interview for this job. We'd really like to have her.
Yeah.
And
When they called for you,
they
there.
had had multiple trips to the state tournament. It's not easy to get to the state tournament in the state of Missouri. Its structure for the state playoffs is wildly out of whack, in my opinion. But
way different from the way we do it now.
Oh, it is. The best teams don't get to the state tournament there. Let's just go that. Because they get knocked out early because of their system, because they district it, and they district it before they know who's even in that district. It's not based on your ability. It's just location.
Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Multiple times I was there, and teams got knocked out that should have never been knocked out because just 2 good teams playing each other. Anyway, so they called and wanted me to come and take that job. And she was like, well, you know, she still has to do her student teaching. They were like, oh, she's not going to graduate yet. She was like, no, she just has 1 semester of her student teaching left. And we were like, we got to have. So I was like, okay. So that didn't pan out. I was excited about that, but it wasn't going to pan out because they couldn't legally hire me or whatever. So it's completely different now. We have lay coaches all over the place now. But anyway, back then they didn't do that. And so when I got out, oddly enough, there was like no movement in the coaching world in that area, and I knew I wanted to stay there. There's just no movement, like none. No jobs. Nobody had usually one big job opens, and then the dominoes just start falling. You know, it's just kind of the way the coaching world works. But
and at that point, you're ready to lead.
Oh, I was ready.
That's right.
And so I went to be an assistant coach for a team that won 5 games their first year.
Oh, wow.
You talk about learning some tough lessons.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I had gone from playing in a Final Four to, man, here I go. I'm going to go okay, wait,
Hold on.
what does this feel like?
Let's tailor some of that.
Yeah, this feels not great, but I learned a lot there too. And that's the thing that I think is the thread in every story, that if you watch people that, you know, and you listen to their stories, typically people learn from situations where there's failure, you know what I mean?
We tend not to look as closely when we win it.
Right. And so
Right or wrong.
Yeah. So anyway, I learned a lot. I was there for 2 years, and then I took the job at a small school outside of Springfield, Morrisville. I was there for 4 years as the head coach, and then left there. Took that team to the state tournament. We got third in the state. They play a third place game there, which was also weird for me.
That's real AAU-ish.
Yeah, that was very weird. So then I left there, wanted to come back home. So took the job at Bixby. I was there for 6 years and then took this job. So.
Listen, moving around for sure. But compare yourself now, seasoned vet, to young you when you were early in the business. I'm pretty sure you got some noticeable differences between then and now.
Wildly different.
Yeah.
Even in my time here at Lincoln, I have changed a lot as a coach. But, you know, I feel like it's not for the worse. You know, kids will come back that I've coached in the past, and they're like, "Coach, who are you?
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Calling you soft and all that?
That's calm, and you know, you're not getting in people's grill and all." I'm like, it's still the same. The expectation is still the same. It's just the approach is a little different. And I say this all the time: the guys that have been in it for a very long time and have been successful, you know, the Coach K's, the Coach Williams, the Cals, you know, those guys that have been in it a long time and still continue to be successful. It's not because their expectations changed. It's because they've learned how to change their style to meet the kids, to get them to their expectations. And I kind of feel like we want to blame this culture and this group of kids that we have right now. Oh, they're soft. But we have trained them in a certain way as a society just with social media.
Yeah.
Like, they are so extrinsically motivated. That little heart, you know,
it matters, yo.
it does. That thumbs up or whatever you get, you know, it does matter. And we've trained them that way, you know, like it's the world that they've known.
Yeah.
And so we can't fault them for that. Yeah, that is the world that they've known. They've known a world where convenience is the thing. They've not known a world where process really matters. And so for us, you know, it's teaching them the beauty in that process. And sometimes you got to get really inspirational to do that. You know, you got to really help them understand that there's a lot to be learned, you know, in the process, not just the outcome. The outcome is a byproduct.
And see, I try to cut them a lot of slack, because if we had all of those things at our disposal as they do now when we were kids, well, you know, things
would have been the same.
It'd been different.
Yeah.
Would you say the kids have changed more than you have changed over the course of time, or is these kids are so different? Is that overblown, you think?
I think it's an equal change.
Okay.
I think that I have along the way tried to. I've never been. One thing that I do think that I learned early on is don't be too proud. My dad was like that. He was like, don't ever be too proud. You can learn something from the best coach. You can learn something from the worst coach.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing to learn. And so my dad was always learning stuff. I'll never forget. We'd be in a scrimmage, and we'd be scrimmaging someone, and they'd run something. And, I mean, we're smacking them.
Yeah.
We're killing them. And they'd run some out-of-bounds play or something, and they'd score off of it. Time out. Give them the ball back.
Yeah.
Go run that against us again. I don't want to see.
I need that.
You know what I mean? Like, he just was never too proud to learn something or to add something in, or do it a different way if it needed to be done for personnel reasons. You know, his style is a little bit different than mine, but I think the game is way different today. You know, players are so much more skilled than they used to be.
That is true.
Especially girls. Oh my gosh, especially girls. And so I think girls want the freedom to play. And, you know, not that he would have ever wanted to necessarily stifle that. It was just that not everybody could play like that. You didn't have a team that could do that. So you kind of had to manufacture more things. And so it was a little more discipline, a little more control, what people would probably refer to as discipline, and controlled is probably what I would refer to it. But I think now you just have to teach kids how to make decisions. That's the biggest piece of the game. But I don't think, we have some tough kids at this school. We have some really tough kids at this school. We have people that over and over again ask me, how do you get your kids to be so tough? These kids, every single girl that is in a sport at this school, every single, from cheerleading to golf, every single girl that is in a sport at this school comes to Summer Pride.
See,
Summer Pride.
it matters.
It does.
Man, I'm telling you, the word tough gets used a lot, and I think, I don't want to say, maybe we need to redefine it, or maybe we need to really talk about what we mean when we say tough. Tough doesn't mean that you'll just that you'll just go and slap somebody the moment they get out of hand. It's like, can you withstand? Can you hang in there long enough for it to turn around for you? And so, you know, and I see that from schools in different areas that may fit a certain demographic versus another one, and we put a lot of stock into that. But I'm like, listen, I've seen some haves and some have-nots that
absolutely.
are really cut from that cloth.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so take me to the Bixby chapter. Now, like I told you in the beginning, I remember that state finals run y'all made against Booker T in 2013, fell a little short. Take me through that run, getting to the final game, and no matter how it ends, whether you win it or you lose it, it always seems like abrupt. Like, wait a minute, so no practice Monday? Like, we've been at it for 9 months and it's just over?
Yeah.
How was that run?
It was wild. That run was fun. That group of kids was a lot of fun. They were also challenging.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you they weren't challenging. Behind closed doors, I mean, it was challenging. And they would tell you that. You know, like, there were things that we had to work out. And along the way, just kind of learn some things, learn some disciplines and some things personally, each of them individually, and how to be a part of a team. You know, but the group of kids were very talented. They were a lot of fun to coach. It allowed me to expand my mind.
They were fun to watch.
Into, you know, a little bit looser of probably more what we play today, a style of play that we play today. That was probably the beginning of me going, hey, these kids can play. You know, I got a couple of kids that can go. Just letting them go when they could go. And I had listened to Eddie Sutton had spoke, and he talked, you know, of course, shot clock, and he said, you know, I always tell the kids, you know, the first 7 seconds are yours. You know, you can get it done in 7 seconds, great. If you can't, the rest of the shot clock's mine.
Here comes the joystick, baby.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that'll preach with these kids. You know, they love to run, they love to get out and transition. So that's how I can, you know, kind of manage that and still keep a little bit of control and keep us, you know, where we're doing things that, you know, are a little more calculated when we need to. But
make sure they don't go completely to the park.
Yeah. But those kids were really good at doing that. And so that was probably the first taste of me really pushing the envelope on letting loose of some things. But it was the first time that I had some really, you know, highly skilled kids too.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you remember about that particular game?
The BTW game? Oh gosh. Well, this is hard to talk about.
Yeah, we got to rip the Band-Aid off, Coach.
It really is hard to talk about. There were some things that happened in that game, you know, obviously the momentum of games means a lot, and you have to, if you can get your kids to understand momentum, I think you'll always win games. Just because if you can feel that momentum as a player out in the middle of it and go, ooh, we need to slow this down, we need to get something good, then I think your kids are going to be really, they're going to be an extension of you as opposed to having to listen to you as much. They're just going to be an extension of you. And that was one thing that, you know, maybe we struggled a little bit with was them understanding that we were doing pretty well, then we took a dip, then we're up again, you know, and then took another dip, and then we're trying to claw our way back in, and then, man, we're in it. We're in the thick of it. I mean, like, it's happening. We should be winning. I mean, like, we go up one, and then the momentum's kind of on our side. It's the last couple of minutes. We had kind of, my point guard and I at the time had a little bit of a headbutting situation where I was like, no, you're gonna do this our way. And so she sat for a minute till she finally was like, okay, I got you, you know, and loved that kid. She was a fireball. Made me a better coach. She really did. She made me a better coach. And but she came back in, and honestly, we were rolling, and Stevie had just hit a couple of threes. I feel like if one possession more would have gone that direction instead of the direction that it went, I'm like, man, what could it have been?
Yeah.
Because she had just hit 2 threes, probably going to hit another. Then we're up 3.
Yeah.
And instead, we're tied up, and they go down. They get a bucket on a run out, and then now we're playing a little bit of the back and forth game. We ended up, we had an opportunity. We were on the sideline. I should have never ran this play. Should have never ran this play, but probably should have had a different kid throwing the ball in. Poor kid that was throwing it in. You know, she was a youngster, but you know, like it kind of busted a little bit. The play did. Wasn't a play that we normally ran, and it kind of we ran it, but wasn't the one that we our go-to, you know, from the sideline. But you know, everybody scouts at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so everybody was going to know the other one. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay, let's change it up a little bit.
Right.
Well, it didn't go well. They deflected the ball, went down to the other end, scored a layup. Now we're down. And so we play the foul game, and you know, it just doesn't go our way. And we end up getting beat by, I think, 6. Yeah, it was definitely 6. I'll remember 6 for a long time.
Okay, so of course somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to go in that locker room. You got to say something to those girls that they probably not gonna want to hear. What are you going there and say to them?
You know, especially that group, man, we got through a lot of junk this year.
Yeah.
You know, we did. We got through a lot of stuff. If we'd have let all of the things that were going on behind the scenes affect us, we would not have been this successful as a team. But they were able to kind of push some of that stuff aside and come back together and rally together. And when that group played together as a team, whoo, they were so much fun. Oh my gosh. It was like being the best cheerleader in the gym.
That's
I got to sit back and just watch. And
So look at this creation right here.
yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, you know, we had kids that, like, I had a post player that her sophomore year, she was going to quit basketball. She was a softball player, didn't think she could manage the schedule. I was like, chill out, let's look at it, you know. She ended up staying the course, broke her ankle that year, fights to come back, is back in time for the state tournament. And so all the things that happened, and all of that, you know, just some of those behind the scenes things. I had a kid that I had started the whole time that was a senior that was definitely not the most talented player on our team, but man, she was just the glue, you know what I mean? She was the next pass kid and, you know, allowed everybody else to eat the way that they needed to eat, you know what I mean? And she didn't care about shooting it. But that started to be the thing down the stretch. People were kind of keying in on that. Hey, just don't guard this kid, double down on this one, help off on that one, you know, kind of thing. And so, man, it was really tough. I had to have a tough conversation with her and explain to her, hey, you must start this other kid. And this other kid, we had this thing in practice at the end of practice. Like, practice would be over, but I had about 20 minutes that I would stay after practice. I called it dream time at that time. And I said, whatever you dream, I'm going to help you. And this particular kid that ended up being one of the coaches that went on to play for me, she was like, Coach, she was like 5'11" kid, came over from Jinx, her family moved over from Jinx, and she was like, I really think I'd like to be a great outside shooter. This was about, you know, a month into the season I started doing this. She was like, I'd really like to be able to shoot threes. I said, well, let's do it. So every day during dream time, we'd shoot. And man, she got really good. She was just so scared to pull it. So scared to pull it. And so we had already said, they're not going to be prepared for this. We're going to start Mariah. And Mariah, we're going to swing the ball around to you. The first time you touch it, I don't care where you are. You can be at the volleyball line. You can be at the three-point line. I don't care.
Let it go.
Let that thing go. And I said, we all know you're shooting it. We all know you're shooting it. You 3, you're going to rebound. The rest of you, you're getting back. Mariah, you're holding your follow-through because it's nothing but net. I guarantee you, it's nothing but. I mean,
just pouring
I couldn't have called it any better. We swung it around to that kid. She shot it from about 2 feet behind the line. Everybody was like, what? Ball goes through the hoop. They turn and look at their coach like, what?
What? This is
Bartlesville's like, what?
Where's this?
What's happening? Like, who? Like, what? This girl's starting now, and she hit a 3. Who is it? You know, she had played for us, you know, all along, come off the bench and played for us. But, you know, we just made that change. And the kid that I took out, she was like, I get it, Coach. It's okay. And, you know, those kids don't come along very often.
No.
She's like, I get it, Coach.
And that was decent that you broke it down to her, because I guess based on your position, you didn't have to. You could just made a move and just said, hey, deal with it, kid.
But I think that that's the level of trust that I want with my kids.
Yeah.
I want them to know that if I'm making a decision, it has some merit to it. It's not, hey, I got a harebrained idea, you know. I got pregnant with my second kid. Yeah. And when I got pregnant with Blake, we were living in Claremore, and I was commuting to Bixby every day still. And so that was a good 2-hour drive there and back every day, you know what I mean? And so, especially in traffic and all the construction that was happening at that time on 169. And so I was like, man, I just don't know if I can be away from my baby for 2 hours a day driving. And then all of the time, Maddie had just gotten to be of the age that she could go to school with me, and I had taken her to Bixby. And so she was with me then. And so it felt good, felt okay, you know. And then whenever I got pregnant with him, I was thinking, oh, I'm leaving him 2 hours. 2-hour round trip. That just didn't set well.
It's not ideal.
My husband worked over here at the church. We had gone to church here since we had moved back. Just so happened this job opened up. Yeah. And honestly, it was a job. There were a handful of jobs that Kaylin, my assistant at the time, and myself had said, you know, if that came open, that might be interesting.
And y'all two been rocking for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. This one was one of those. We were like, that might be interesting to be at, you know, a school where you could truly talk about your faith with kids and live out what you do with your kids, and relate the gospel to them through what you're doing. We did it anyway. Probably wasn't PC, but we did it anyway. Most places that we were, we just tried to guise it a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so when this came open that same year, it was kind of like, man, I should do this. So came over, did the interview. They offered me the job. They, you know, said, well, what it'll take. I told them I'm not coming for less money, you know, all the important things. Yeah. And then I said, oh, by the way, I've got to take my assistant. What? You want to take your assistant? And I said, yeah, I do.
You kind of got to have somebody you know and trust.
So the football coach was the AD. Well, he was kind of the principal-ish, kind of head of school-ish at the time.
Got a little hybrid action going on.
Yeah, Darren Melton, who is now the head of school, officially the head of school, but he was also the head football coach. Yeah. And I just looked at him and I go, are you telling me that if you left to go to any other job in the state right now that you wouldn't try to take one guy with you? You got to have one guy on your team.
You do.
And he was like, I probably would. Yeah. I go, so that's all I'm asking for.
That's what's happening.
And so they let me bring her over, and she was with me until this year. She took the head job this last spring. She took the head job over at Collinsville. She's going to do amazing over there.
Is this her first one?
Yeah. Hey. She's had so many opportunities to go and be a head coach, and she's just not wanted to do it. But the timing was good for her, and that's one of the places. Collinsville was one of the places that we were like, man, that's intriguing.
Awesome for her, yeah. Y'all did a lot over here.
We did. It's been fun.
It's been a good fit?
Yeah, we had a good run together, she and I did. And, you know, I think she's going to do amazing over there. Logan Froese, who's the assistant that was our second assistant here, bumped up to our first assistant. She's growing and building her, you know, abilities as a coach, and I see that every day. And, you know, sometimes someone's got to move to make that happen. Kaylin had to move to make that happen for her and make it happen for Logan, and just all of the things, you know. So it's cool. Good.
One of the last basketball questions I got for you. So you've been close in a lot of regards as a player and as a coach.
I have.
But I also know that as we get older, we start to define success a little bit differently for ourselves. So how much validation, for lack of a better word, would you feel by winning one? 'Cause I know you want to.
I think what it would validate is what I continue to preach to our kids. If you do things the right way and you buy into the process, good things are going to happen for you. Yeah. It'll happen for you. You know, like if you're around it enough, if you're around the good stuff enough, it's going to land on you at some point. You know what I mean? And I do believe that will happen. And, you know, will that happen for Melody here? Maybe, maybe not. Will it happen for this program if Melody's not here? Maybe, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I also definitely try to get my kids to understand that that's not what this is all about. I mean, the ultimate prize is, just eternal life. And that's the cool thing about where I work today, is that I can be very forthcoming in saying that. Like at the end of this, I don't know if you guys have read the book, but the good book says at the end that I win.
That's right.
I win. I mean, so whether I win a trophy on this earth that's going to tarnish and sometimes someday fade away, I'm going to hold a trophy one day,
When you go through them gates.
Yeah. So
I
cool.
love that. So we're going down the home stretch now, because you've been very gracious with your time, and I appreciate it. Mom life and wife life. How do you do all of this?
Woo! How do I do all of
this? Yeah. I guess you got a great model, though. Your mom did it, right?
My mom was amazing. Oh, my gosh, she was amazing. She did all of the things, all of the things.
And you got three of your own, right?
Yes, I do.
Your daughter's the oldest?
Yes. So
2 sons?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I have Maddie, who just turned 17. I've got Blake, who is 10, and Campbell, who is 7, and they play all the things. And we do all of the stuff.
Never stops.
It's crazy. I will never forget, 2 weeks before I got married, I was coaching four teams. Yeah, 4 teams, 4 little kids teams because I had taken that job, and I had, right out of college, taken a job coaching this little AAU team for this guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I've got a daughter too. Would you want to coach her team? Oh, okay. So it was a 7th grade team. Hey, my high school daughter, her team wants to play in the summer. Would you coach them?
You're just saying
so
yes,
now
yes,
I've got
yes,
the
yes.
son, I've got the junior high daughter, I've got the elementary son, the junior high daughter, and the high school daughter, and I'm coaching all of their teams. Oh, well, his little Greenwood team, they've got 2 really good players on it, but I've got these 3 other kids over here from this other city that we could put with him. Man, we could be pretty good. Okay, Ron.
Your plate's just not full enough.
So now I go from coaching those 3 to coaching those 4. And cool story about that is Ron was so good at seeing talent and going and hey, where's your son? Like we'd go play in these rec leagues and he's pulling them. One of the coolest things is we acquired a kid, and you may or may not recognize this name, but his name was Doriel Beckham Green. Played in the NFL. Played for the Titans for a while, but he played for 4 years on our team. And that kid could straight get up.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. It was
Bouncy.
amazing. We ran this tip play. They're in like 7th grade. We're running a tip play. He tips it, and then he takes off of a back screen, and we throw it up to him, and he's finger rolling that thing in as a 7th grader. And, people were like, what? Ooh. But he was a phenomenal athlete. But about the summer before their 7th grade year, we went to nationals that year, and I'll never forget, I looked at Ron and I go, Ron, I think it's time for us to get these boys a new coach. And he said, why? You don't want to do this anymore? And I was like, no, it's not that I don't want to do it anymore. It's just that when they come to the timeout huddle, I don't think they're listening to me. They're looking at me.
Got you.
He was like,
got you.
Oh, okay.
It's that time.
I just didn't think that I was captivating their attention in the right direction anymore. And so I was like, I really think they need and I do. I think it was pivotal for them to have a guy in their life at that time. Do I think that girls can coach guys? I absolutely do.
I'm just waiting on the day. Huh?
But I do think that there are moments where, a guy needs a guy.
Yeah.
A dude needs a dude to coach him. A girl needs a girl to coach him. Like there's things that you can't relate to the other one. So anyway, but so yeah, I was coaching 4 teams 2 weeks before I got married. I'm stressed out. All the things marriage getting ready to happen. My husband, this will tell you a lot about my husband.
Yeah, let us in.
So I'm frazzled at this point, and he's like, why don't you just quit coaching these teams? And I looked at him and I go, you have to make a decision right now. This is my life. Right. I coach. This is what I do. It's going to be stressful sometimes. Yeah. I may have a small meltdown behind the scenes every now and then, and I need you to decide right now, because we're not going through with this thing until you decide that you want to be married to a coach, because this is what a coach's life is like. It's crazy. It's crazy. You're gone all the time. You're doing all the things, and you got to show up and you got to support me. And when I'm like this, you got to tell me it's going to be okay.
Just like that.
And he was like, okay, I'm all in. And so from that moment forward, it was like, see, I told you, this is what it's going to be like. And he has just jumped on for this ride in the back of this car, and he's like, okay, let's do this. But he shows up at our rehearsal dinner with a brand new truck. He already had a brand new truck.
I was going to say, unbeknownst to you,
oh, yeah, he had already got a brand new truck.
Right on.
You know, straight out of college 2 years before. Then he decided he was going to get a new truck, and he shows up at our rehearsal dinner with that.
He's like, what's happening, baby? Look how I'm rolling.
What just happened right here? You just made a fight. He said, it was the last one I could make without your consent. I was like,
I respect it.
Oh.
I respect
anyway,
it.
but no, it's been good. Jared's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. He's been such a great support to me. There were moments that it was touch and go. He had to learn early on that after I lose, don't try to give me advice. Wait a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks. Solid month would be great.
Just be there.
But especially somebody that has not played a lot of basketball. You only played football and baseball. You played some basketball, but mostly football and baseball.
Okay, so we got a credibility thing in
Please
question.
don't tell me what to do.
Right on.
But that was part of my learning too, was, you know, kind of like my dad said, you know, you can learn something from anybody. To give yourself a chance to listen. And so I had to get over my pride a little bit too and just learn how to go through the process. You know? But Jared has been amazing along the way. And
is he the good cop most times?
Yeah, he does a very good job of being a good cop. He sure does.
See, there you go. Okay, so which one of your kids would you say is most like you and one is most like him? And you got 3, so that math is a little off. So somebody's going to be a hybrid, I know it.
It is. When I got pregnant with Campbell, he was like, we are not a zone team.
Oh.
You know that. We are a man-to-man team, Melody.
Straight
we
up.
have always been a man-to-man team.
Right.
You don't love zones, and we're about to go into a zone.
Yeah.
Like, we better get really good at bumping off, babe. So, anyway, no. Maddie is so much like me in so many ways. You know, I prayed so hard when I was pregnant with her and I found out she was a girl because I really wanted to have a boy first because I just thought I would be too tough of a mama for a girl.
Yeah.
I really did. And when I found out she was a girl, I prayed every night, Lord, you know the kind of girl that I need. I do not need a frilly little, you know, high maintenance. Please do not. I need somebody. Yeah. And he was so gracious to give me somebody like Maddie. She's been amazing. She's been my little mini-me, gone everywhere, been a part of everything that I've done as a coach. And it has been such a journey and such a cool thing to watch your kid just love something that you love. I mean, that has been the coolest thing. And so in a lot of ways, Maddie is just like me in regards to, you know, just her competitiveness and her work ethic and all the things. Maddie's 50 times better than a basketball player than I'd ever hoped to be. Oh my gosh, she's
and you're coaching
so
her.
much better than me than I could have ever hoped to have been. She just has the skill and the abilities that I didn't have. There are things that I could probably do as a player that are a little better than what she does.
Right.
But she's just all around so much better player than I ever could have hoped to have been. But in that regard, she's a lot like me. She's very analytical like her dad, though. So sometimes it's hard for me when she's trying to process things, and I'm like, just get to moving. Like, just fill it out, you know? Because I'm like somebody that like, let's figure this thing out on the way, you know? Not
let's start
Jared.
moving first.
Jared's making about 15 YouTube video runs, seeing which one we should be, okay.
Measure twice, cut once.
Yes, exactly. And not me, I'm like, that looks good, cut it.
Yeah, let's start cutting, you know what I mean? And we'll patch it up along the way.
Yeah, but anyway, so she's a lot like him in that regard. She's incredibly intelligent, and he was, you know, very smart. But Blake has a lot of my hard-headedness. Oh man, does he?
You see it right now.
Oh man, does he? And I go, buddy, you know what? Someday, you know, God gave you this as a real gift. You know, we on earth see this as something we don't like. Your mama doesn't like this. But I know someday being hard-headed will keep you straight and narrow. It'll let you know where your boundaries are. You'll know who you are. You won't try to be fickle about it. And so there are good parts to being stubborn, but we have to use them for the right reasons. And so he's a lot like me in that regard. Oh man, Campbell is my spirit animal.
Yeah.
He is. I'm not kidding you.
7, right?
Yes, I am, fly by the seat of my pants. Don't fence me in.
Right.
I'll go anywhere, do anything. Let's have fun. Let's get on every roller coaster there is. Let's
go
do
for
all
it.
the things.
Yeah.
And that's Campbell. And I mean, he's like that. But if I had to pick one, I would say that Maddie's probably the most like me. The other two, Jared he's not a heights guy. He doesn't, he loves some adventure, but it's not like Campbell. But Jared and Campbell could stay outside all day, all night, and never darken the door and be just okay.
Oh, wow.
They'd even kill their own food and cook it themselves out there and never need a utensil from inside. I mean, they are those guys. So the cool thing is that, you can see the thumbprint of both Jared and I over all of our kids, so that's pretty cool. To me, that means, that God blessed them with the best of the worlds of both of us, and so that's cool.
Last 2 questions.
Yeah.
What can you be found doing when it comes to anything leisure outside of anything basketball related? What do you do for fun? Hobbies?
Oh, goodness. Outside of, just basketball.
Uh-huh.
Oh, every night I go out and throw the football with my son. I'm sure the people around me think I'm crazy. We
see
go
that.
out
I can
there
100%
and he
see
runs
that, though.
routes and I throw him the football. That's the little one. That's Campbell. When we get out there, Blake always comes out. He doesn't initiate it. Blake's a gamer. Like he's so smart and understands things. That he plays football and he's telling everybody where to go. And he's like, yeah, but so and so's running such and such. We should really, coach. We should really, Blake has that kind of mind. But he plays Madden. He plays NBA 2K. He plays all the things. You know what I mean? So he's
good at it.
He's
too.
always scheming. Oh yeah, he's always scheming. But yeah, I'm outside. I'm with my kids a lot. Man, I'm with my kids a lot. I love being a mom. Love being around them. I do real estate on the side, so I do that a little bit. Yeah,
didn't know that.
That's new.
Okay, salute to you.
Yeah, so you probably didn't know that. So I do some of that. But anytime we have a break from school, I always bake. I'm always baking something.
And then when I hear bake, I think sweets.
Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of sweets. I do a few little bread things, but yeah, lots of sweets. We're either having cinnamon rolls or cookies or brownies or lemon bars or all the things. Yeah.
Talk dirty.
Yeah.
Now, here's the finale. We're back to basketball.
Yep.
With all due disrespect, I want you to dig into the archives, right? Any game that you either played or coached in, y'all lost, absolutely shouldn't have lost. And it still sticks in your craw to this day. And if you go back and run it back, you're going back to that game to line it up one more time.
It's probably just because it's fresh on my mind. But the one that I think that I would like to run back would be this last year's state championship game. Yeah, we.
I thought you might have mentioned that before now, but I'm glad we're here.
Yeah, I felt like we had the right game plan. We were doing the right things. We had a stint where we just got a little too loose. You know what I mean? And if, like I said, if you understand momentum, and we didn't understand momentum, they got some runouts.
Yeah.
We got a couple of good-looking shots, but they were by people that weren't really hitting at that time. Unfortunately, you know what I mean.
Are they the ones that you would want taking those though, ordinarily?
I mean, in those situations, yeah. I mean, they would take those shots. It just happened that they weren't as on as they might have typically been, or they didn't fall. They just didn't fall, and that happens, sometimes. But I'd like to run that back and run it just a little bit more disciplined for, about 6 to 8 possessions. And I think it's close. And when it's close, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to end it.
Yeah.
And Coach,
all
listen,
right.
I wish you nothing but luck this year. Rolling into this season, it'll be here before we know it. It's already almost Halloween.
Yeah.
But I've had you on my list of people that I really wanted to meet and talk to for a while, so I'm glad we got it done.
Me too. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.